10 years later, it's tempting to look at the events of 9/11 and wonder what's changed. Well, there have been changes, significant changes, some brought on by the attacks, some the result of the march of time and the expansion of technology. And then there are the changes in us and how we perceive the world. September 11th, 2001, 8:46, the time when the first plane hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center and America changed. The attack launched us into two wars, added such phrases as shoe bomb, IED, and global war on terrorism to the American lexicon. We also learned to admire those who served in uniform to protect us, and we revived the P word.
Patriotic.
But the attacks also exposed American vulnerability. Our oceans no longer protect us. There may be enemies among us. So we have learned to tolerate the security screen with all it implies about how at risk we are.
You can't even go to the courthouse without having to be searched.
That's just one of many things that will never be the same. Partially disrobe at the airport because terrorists hijacked planes. Allow a light pat-down, arms raised before a Bengals game. Constant reminders of what happened that September morning.
9/11 that morning was devastating. And it is every time I think back. My parents were living at home with me when that happened. And my dad, my stepdad, who was elderly, and he was running around in circles with his hands on his head when the first tower went down.
Dr. Sethi, the head of the psychiatric division at Christ Hospital, has seen a change locally in our sense of invincibility.
Yes, through my experience working in the community of Cincinnati, particularly over the last 10 years, I see this community is very sensitive. They don't want to go to crowded places. They choose the time when people are not there.
I think, especially, of course, directly after it happened, there's a lot of fear put out there, and I think that it's really easy for people to feed on the fear of others.
Some of the younger people we asked don't think the attacks changed much.
So you think people are pretty much going on as usual?
Yeah, I don't think too much has changed.
Nothing really. Everything's still the same for me. I wasn't really affected by it.
But others think 9/11 still affects how we relate to each other.
What has changed in your view about this country since 9/11, if anything?
People do not trust each other. There's no trust in anything or anybody anymore.
The uncertainty even touched our faith in our nation's financial system.
Usually when you have a big event, the financial crisis in 2008 was one. The attack on the World Trade Center was also one. People reassess how they're doing, and they look at those numbers in their lives.
When the New York Stock Exchange reopened on September 17th, the Dow plunged 685 points, its largest one-day drop to date.
The financial system is effectively, it's the blood of the economy. When banks and insurance companies are threatened, then people don't know what's going to happen with their savings, and they might panic.
The attack sent a shockwave through the economy. Consumer confidence immediately dropped, the price of oil shot up, and the jobless numbers climbed. But Dr. Sethi sees a positive echo of 9/11, perhaps through the example of sacrifice of New York City firefighters and police officers.
I saw a better change also. People are more cohesively coming together, family helping family, community helping community.
A lot of you have shared with us where you were on September 11th. Debbie Walters says, "I cried almost every day for the people who had lost loved ones and who had lost their own lives." A Facebook friend wrote, "Every single moment of that day was more surreal than the last, and it still haunts me."